Hello, I'm Annette Young and welcome to the 51%, a show about women reshaping our world coming up. A judicial investigation is now underway after the Peruvian government carried out a forced sterilisation program of mainly indigenous women during the late 1990s. Our reporter meets some of the victims. Also, Sudan's newest recruits to martial arts are now fearing the fact they are women will see authorities demand an end to their involvement. And what's it like to be a female DJ in Egypt, a country not renowned for promoting women's rights and where DJs in general are frowned upon by authorities? But first, and between 1996 to the year 2000, some 270,000 Peruvians, many of them women and mainly indigenous, who didn't speak Spanish, underwent surgery to be sterilised. It was all part of a family planning program implemented under the then President Alberto Fujimori. Now, according to authorities at the time, the goal was to reduce poverty and thus boost the nation's economic growth. Thousands of women, however, say they weren't told clearly what the procedure was, while others say they were forced to undergo the operation. A judicial investigation is finally underway, and France 24's Thomas Nicolon went to meet some of the victims.
They had their motherhood stolen, but they refused to give up. These women are poor farmers who say they were sterilized without their consent in the 1990s.
We meet regularly. We've been fighting for more than 25 years, and we will continue until we get the truth, justice, and compensation.
Ruth Zuninga is the president of the AMPAF, the Association of Peruvian Women Victims of Forced Sterilization. The group meets to share their experiences and keep up to date on the ongoing court case. The women speak to each other in Quechua, their mother tongue, about their personal and psychological scars.
There's a lot of sadness because our members say they're in pain. They start crying whenever they bring up the moment when they were forced to get their tubes tied. In some cases, they're still in pain. That's what they're saying.
Ever since their operations, most of these women suffer from abdominal pain and are struggling to understand why. They undergo regular medical testing, but until now, no doctor or treatment seems to have solved the problem.
These are the results of all the medical exams I've had, because I've not been well since my tubes were tied. Every time I go, I have to spend a lot of money. And despite that, I'm not doing any better. I feel traumatized, like I'm continuously drunk. I can't remember things. My whole life has been a fight. I can't even sleep well.
Through the AMPAF, these women demand justice. In December 2021, a judicial investigation was opened after 16 years of preliminary inquiries. A ray of hope for the victims. 1,307 plaintiffs volunteered to testify. Rute lives in the Pampa Conga community in the Cusco region at the heart of the Peruvian Andes. She runs a modest restaurant from her home. Her earnings allow her to finance her family's needs.
Someone ordered 50 tamales. That's what I'm making now. I sell my dishes on Sundays. That's my job. It allows me to earn enough to pay the electricity bill and other costs. If I do nothing, if I don't even have a job, what will I do?
Brute will never forget the day she was forcibly sterilized. Like so many other women, she says the doctors offered no explanation. She tried to resist the operation, but faced with her refusal, an ambulance was sent to her home, where she hid in her room with a newborn in her arms. In the end, she was taken to the hospital against her will.
They told me, we're going to make a small cut, that's it, so that you don't have any more children. You already have 4. How many more do you need? You country people are like guinea pigs. You have children even if you can't raise them. That's when he started operating, and the more he cut, the more it hurt. I told him, "Doctor, please, I'm in pain, I'm in pain." "Get a hold of yourself, please," the doctor said. And then they tied my hands and my feet to the bed, and I felt them give me an anesthetic.
Brute says she woke up surrounded by dozens of other women, some of whom were lying on the ground. She was sent home without an explanation. Today, she can no longer work in the fields like before. Without her help, her husband can only plow a small part of their lands.
And you can catch the full report on Revisited program on France24.com. Now to Sudan, where the fall of its autocratic leader Omar al-Bashir in 2019 led to a martial arts training centre in Khartoum opening its doors for the very first time to women. But following a military coup in 2021, the female students now fear that their newfound freedoms may be under threat, as our team on the ground report.
4 years ago, this scene would have been impossible. This women-only martial arts class opened in 2019 after the fall of Omar al-Bashir. They train under the guidance of one of the first female Muay Thai coaches in Sudan.
When our head instructor created this gym, he realized that there aren't any places for women to feel safe. Martial arts gyms here are basically for men. He decided that he wanted to create a safe space for women where they can come and train by female trainers. They can feel comfortable here while they're learning how to defend themselves.
Since the revolution, they have been able to emancipate themselves, but today, the junta in power is trying to limit their freedom. A community police force has been established and illegal arrests are on the rise. These women cannot imagine a possible return to the past.
Women have been more open and have been demanding that they get to do what men get to do. So there's been kind of like a movement to encourage women to do sports, and like women have been supporting each other and encouraging each other to do these kinds of things, to go out and do what they want, to do what they love.
Miriam is a rising star. In 2021, she came in third at the African Championship, making her country and parents proud. Her mother is opposed to violent sports, but her father immediately supported her, as he sees this as a step forward after 3 decades of oppression against women.
Unfortunately, when the Islamists came to power, they wanted to separate girls from boys. Before, we were more mixed. We were an open society. We did all the sports together.
For Miriam's friends, the practice of martial arts helps to change mentalities.
We know that Sudanese society is not open and fights against new ideas, but we always find a way to get our message across or present it in a way that is acceptable to society.
Women have been active in the revolution, but they must continue to fight to hold on to these acquired freedoms, which are still fragile.
And finally, across the world, DJs happen to be mainly men, and that is certainly the case in Egypt. So it's not easy then for DJs such as Yasmin Selectress to stand strong in the male-dominated music industry, especially in a traditional Muslim society. James Fazina has the story.
It's an unlikely occurrence, and all the more in Egypt. Yasmin Selectress gets the crowd dancing at a restaurant on the banks of the River Nile. She's one of just a few women who've made the leap into DJing in a country where women's rights are restricted and violence against them is rife.
DJing as a woman is somewhat of a double-edged sword. There are less female DJs here than elsewhere for quite obvious reasons. It's linked to the way we're brought up in our society, among other things.
But her passion is paying off, and her fans welcome the change.
All my life I've been seeing male DJs playing music. Where are the female DJs? They're never around. Now they're proving themselves, they're putting themselves on the main stage. But it's really nice to see that representation in the music scene.
Away from the clubbing nightlife, Dalia Hassan has carved a name for herself in private circles.
We play at women-only events like henna nights or weddings where men and women hold separate parties. When there's a female DJ, women are more at ease. They feel free to do what they want.
While change is undoubtedly happening within Egypt's music scene, a permanent shift of the status quo won't be easy. Whether they're male or female, DJs, rappers and modern dance music in general are all frowned upon by the country's cultural institutions.
And that's all for now. You can keep up with the 51% on Facebook, Instagram or Twitter. Plus you can catch our previous programs on the France 24 website. So until our next show, bye for now.